Our guy, Jeff Jones, Belleville News Democrat, I am reading from his Twitter from 13 minutes ago. 2 tweets. He says, Jack Flaherty spoke to the media at STL Cards camp this morning and said he had some general soreness through the winter following the season. He declined to say whether he'd thrown off a mound before he reported and said several times, quote, just waiting to see what we've got. Now, if you decline to say if you've thrown off the mound, I would think you have not thrown off the mound. The second tweet, Jeff Jones says, Flaherty said he didn't want to compare now to how he felt with his shoulder strain last summer. Obviously, he was unable to communicate with the team this winter, but he said communication was strong as soon as he reported and they could examine him.
So Jack Flaherty's a smart guy, so he's not going to say anything that could come back to bite him. So you got to be careful with what you say. My guess is there's still a lot unknown, but if there's one thing you could extrapolate, Charlie, tell me if I'm wrong on this, is that hopefully it's nothing serious, but I would assume based on what's been said that he's likely behind schedule to be ready to go opening day.
100%.
Yeah. At the very minimum, he's behind. Hopefully that's all it is, but that's what I would guess.
Let's say he's actually healthy, which I don't necessarily think is the case. Even if he was, and he has not thrown off a mound, which I think from reading that, I would put my chips on the man has not thrown off the mound. Today is what? March 16th, and opening day is April 7th. How many days in March are there? So we're talking about basically about a little more than 3 weeks till opening day. Even if he was 100% healthy, there's no way that man gets up to a point that he's ready to throw 100 pitches in a big league game.
And that's not even counting in that they're going to be more cautious
100%.
with a guy who had issues last year. So that's not great. The news about Reyes, not great. Jordan Hicks apparently is throwing, and they want to get him around 50 pitches before they get out of camp. That's good. I guess his role will be sort of an innings guy, which I'm not so sure that that's the best use of him or where he'll flourish. But I guess the main thing at this point is you want to get him healthy and get him back into the mix.
I think with Jordan Hicks, if you read what folks are saying, that his role is all based on how his arm recovers. And it sure seems like, because this dude's been hurt for 3 years basically now.
Yeah.
Now think about it. He basically sat out the COVID year because he was coming back from Tommy John. He's also a diabetic. And so his timetable that year was going to be pushed anyway. So he didn't pitch at all in 2020, hurt all of last year. It seems like the medicals and what they've basically extrapolated from watching Jordan Hicks, they feel like his arm will recover better if he has multiple days off than pitching back-to-back nights in a true reliever role.
So, in other words, and we've seen this with other pitchers, how the Cardinals handle them. Reyes went through this a little bit as well. You're using him based on scheduling his health as opposed to when there's a need for it, which is part of, as I said, getting him back into the mix and recovering. If that's long term, because to me, Hicks has filthy stuff, and I'm sure he could start games. I think the best use for a guy with that kind of velo is obviously out of the bullpen late in games, but I'm willing to give him time to do whatever because that's an asset you want to make the most of. So however they got to use him to get him healthy and right, I'm on board with.
So not just with the Cardinals, but what's happened with Fernando Tatis Jr. with his motorcycle incident.
Oh, God.
It proves to me that the players and the owners were actually following the rules. There was no tampering. Like in other sports, everybody tampers, right? Before free agency, all the players call each other, where are we going to go? There's this tampering that takes place. If there was actually tampering taking place in baseball, don't you think the Flahertys of the world, the Reyes of the world would have communicated this maybe in back channels to the Cardinals? I mean, if you're John Mozeliak, I do think that John Mozeliak, all right, we got 5 starters. We got these depth relievers. We're signing Verhagen. We're signing all these minor league guys, McAllister, Aaron Brooks. We brought in Nick Whitgren. If in December Jack Flaherty's working with the training staff. Alex Reyes is working with the training staff. And both of them are saying, my shoulder's barking. That totally changes the complexion of the offseason. And they don't basically hear this until yesterday on March, or 2 days ago, which is March 13th, 14th.
I get that. But let's face it, the players' union and the owners were on opposite sides of the fence. Like they were not in lockstep at all. And the union rallies its people, so does Major League Baseball, the owners group. So I could see there was no communication. I know firsthand the Cardinals let everyone know, and they were like, it's nothing personal, but it's a lockout. Like we're not going to make staff available for anything. So I kind of figured that's the way it would go.
And that's what I'm saying. Whereas 5 years from now, because I promise you, they're going to have the exact same, whether it's a lockout, whether it's a strike, whether it's arguing for 3 months about the next CBA. This is going to happen again in 5 years. And I do think Major League Baseball should probably learn from this in the sense where maybe you don't lock out the players. Maybe you have some type of agreement for the health of the game. And I say, like yesterday, we were talking about player safety, but I don't think that's a good term. The term is arm health because baseball is different. It's about the health of your pitcher's arms. And Major League Baseball, because for 3 months they weren't allowed to talk with training staff, now you're going to have a bunch of dudes who are hurt. And that is not good for baseball.
It's funny, man. It's not funny at all, but yeah, so if he's banged up in the summer, is he just waiting? He's like, I'm not doing well. He can't go to any doctors. He can't do anything. So you just have to wait it out.
I'm sure he knows, but his private physician or the people that he turns to are not the people that will decide what to do next in terms of his baseball career because he's under contract to the Cardinals. So I'm sure, trust me, Jack Flaherty is a thorough, lockdown guy. He's a smart guy. He's in control of his world. But it's different. The Cardinals have the right to say what is going to happen. So, trust me, Jack Flaherty wasn't just hanging out going, maybe I should do something.
Yeah. Nate the Great, what are you thinking? Are you already mad now? Are you mad about the injury report?
I'm thinking that the Blues better have a nice, long, deep postseason run for St. Louis sports fans to enjoy a professional team around here. The Flaherty news is awful. There's really no way to step around this, and I think Charlie's accurate with this Flaherty's not going to be ready to start the season, and the Cardinals' starting pitching was already thin. You're looking at guys between Hudson, Flaherty, and Miles Michaelis who have not stayed healthy, and now you're banking on Wainwright to come back in his 40s and do what he did last 2 years. Seems a little bleak.
Yeah, yeah.
They got. I'm not saying it's ideal. It isn't, but they do have, guys that younger guys that could possibly fill in. To me, a guy like Woodford looks good.
They walk guys. They come in and they throw balls
at the end of the rotation. Well, we'll see. I don't think all is lost because of this news for Flaherty. I do think, and there's guys in the minor leagues who I want to actually see, that guys that I think can get it done. But I would prefer to have our ace ready to go. I'm not comparing it. I'm just saying. I honestly thought they had enough protection, but part of my thinking was that Flaherty just went through it. He'll be fine. No one has depth to take care of their number one starter going down. Hopefully that's not the case. No one has that kind of depth to replace your number one starter, guy like Flaherty.
So I'm looking at Spotrac.com right now. I don't know when it was updated, but they have all the starting pitchers that have signed this offseason. So starting with the big dogs, Max Scherzer, Robbie Ray, Kevin Gausman, and then you have the guys available. And you got some names. Now, some guys are going to get paid, like Zach Greinke is still out there. I know he's older. But there's a bunch of names where I feel like you can grab some names who you sign them now because of Flaherty, because of Reyes. You have two dudes. One is your number one starter, number two. The other was going to be a depth guy. Both of them, I would be surprised if they're on the Major League roster on opening day. So now I think it makes sense. Go out and get, whether it's J. Happ, get somebody of that ilk. Get Scott Kazmir. Get Jose Urania. Get Michael Fires. Somebody that can potentially start to begin the season 5-6 starts. Somebody else is going to get hurt, by the way. There'll be another starter hurt in May. And then if everybody gets healthy at some point, that guy can go into a bullpen role.
Get Hap.
Yeah,
We
a
saw him,
1-year
and he was
deal.
good.
Get a veteran who can log some innings on a 1-year, $4 or $5 million deal.
I still like McHugh. I know he's 34.
Somebody like that.
He had some great. His numbers were awesome last year. I just think he's underrated.
One of the things that's tough is the last two injuries here now, Reyes and Flaherty, and we don't know the extent, but shoulders are bad.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you don't want a shoulder injury. At least with an elbow, you sort of know, okay, guys got to have the surgery, and timetable is what it is, and hopefully they can rehab and come back. With a shoulder, those things seem to linger, and there is no fix.
And for a guy who had shoulder issues in the past, that's the really concerning part of it. You hope for the best, but to me, Hudson looked good. You think Hudson's past that, and Hudson, in the Cardinals rotation, he's the number 2. He would be if everyone's healthy, right? Probably the number 2.
I'd say, don't you think Waino and Flaherty 1, 2?
Yeah, all right, Waino. Flaherty 1. Then I was thinking
Either way.
Waino but Hudson. I might put Hudson ahead of Waino based on advanced age, but I think he can be sort of that one. But as Charlie points out, and I've even said it, someone else is going to get hurt too. And if you need someone, bring in Hap. Right? He was good. Lester was good.
I like that.
Wade LeBlanc was good.
I'd pick up the phone and call Lester too.
By the way, as you go through these free agents, there's a lot of dudes that either were Cardinals or feel like Cardinals. And I know some of these guys aren't great, but Shelby Miller, Wade LeBlanc. I mean, couldn't you see? It feels like a Cardinals move to sign a Jake Arrieta for a 1-year deal, right? That's what they did last year.
Yeah, but
I know, but I'm
bombed.
saying those types of names, Jay Happ, John Lester, they're all in that same bucket of 34 to 36, whatever they are.
Except Hap was decent.
I know.
Lester was decent. Arrieta
But
was
by the
not.
way, both those guys, especially Hap was horrible with the Twins.
Horrible.
He came here. I think, here's what I will say. A lot of these guys, they would love to pitch at Busch Stadium, and they would love to pitch in front of the best defense in baseball. And by the way, we're not talking about a dude to save your season. We're talking about the dude to hopefully give you 7 starts at the beginning of the season and then kind of meld into a length bullpen role.
See, to me, and I get what you're saying, and you look at all options. I mean, who knows if Hap can still do it. But if you had guys like that actually came in and were decent, I mean, let's face it, guys like Lester and Hap sort of saved the season. Wade LeBlanc, too, give him credit. But if you had him in your system and it worked out and everyone liked him, that'd be my first option that I turn to if you need someone. So I would be right now contacting Hap and saying, head on over to spring training. Let's see what you got. I mean, he was pretty solid.
3 and 4 chimes in and goes, what are the chances the Cardinals sign Dwight Gooden?
Good old Dwight Gooden.
Woody Williams is available.
Well, speaking of partiers, Matt Harvey, I shouldn't say that because it's kind of tragic, but Matt Harvey is available.
He's been awful, too.
He also has some issues with...
What'd he do?
Well, he's part of the whole Angels...
Oh, that's right. Oh, God.
...situation with the with the opioids.
Yep.
Shelby Miller had so much upside. I mean, that's a talented pitcher. Never came together. He had some injury issues. Like, I could see them as a reclamation project looking at Shelby. But if you got guys that did it for you last year, those are the guys I'd call first.
How about Liberator? I mean,
I want to see him.
Yeah, I think
That's
everybody,
one
we
of the
got to
guys,
see this
when I talk
guy.
about Woodford, who I think deserves another look. But Liberator's a guy I've been wanting to see for a long time.
We got to see him. 22 games last year, 18 starts at AAA. You got to give the dude a
And that's
chance.
why I said that I didn't think they were, I understand when you say the pitching was going into the season thin anyway, because you did have some guys coming off injuries and one guy who's up there in age. I get all that. But I felt like before Reyes, if they're going to lengthen him to be a starter, Liberator, I thought they had options that would be decent. You just don't count on Flaherty being the guy that might not be in play.
When Flaherty's name is the one who gets injured, it changes the dynamic of the entire look of the pitching depth.
855-282-8255. Let me tell you about my bookie real quick. March is here and the madness has finally begun. It's time for you to shoot your shot and score a big one on the nonstop action with MyBookie. Predict winners in each round of the MyBookie bracket contest for a chance to win a Bitcoin, a Doodle NFT currently valued at over $50,000. You can make that mug rain. 50 G's? Hell yeah. Hey, and listen, over $100,000 in more cash prizes. Whether you're filling out multiple brackets, betting on national championship winners, or simply looking for a player and game props, MyBookie has you covered. All you got to do is put the promo code in, Bet590. Bet590. Make your first deposit, earning a free entry into the My Bracket contest. Check that out. Promo code Bet590. The bracket will officially begin on March 13th and close by March 17th, so you better hurry up. Get it in, get it done. Promo code Bet590. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Anything on your end before we go to break?
I was just going to say, J Happ last year signed a 1-year, $8 million deal with the Twins. His ERA with the Twins was 6.77. With the Cardinals, 4. Pretty dang good. He's going to turn 40 in October. That just feels like the perfect, nice little 1-year, $5 million deal.
Yeah.
With the news that the Cardinals have got in the first 3 days of camp.
And just for full transparency, when the Cardinals brought in Happ and Lester, at the time, I thought that was waving the white flag.
We all did.
I had no idea that they could reinvent themselves, and both of them did it, and the Cardinals were right about it.